All right, starting off the series, Pearl Ambrosia. It's been a familiar look so far, but unfortunately not in a good fashion today. It's going to be upset on their map pick to kick things off. Core 13-9 victory. Going into this, Ash, I mean, we needed to see the best of both teams sitting at these 1-2 records. And it looked like Core just able to punish Ambrosia just a little bit more, though. This was a pretty tight match for a bit.
Yeah, it was. Their defense looked really good on the side of course. Really close beginning though, ending that half
Mhm.
at 6-6. I was expecting maybe even going to overtime once we headed into that second half. But even in that second round, round 14, we saw Ambrosia kind of let that one be quite messy for them on their anti-eco. They lost all of their guns in that. Sure, didn't manage to see that defuse win there for core, but overall, it looked pretty good with how they were punishing Ambrosia.
Yeah, eco, anti-eco, gun rounds, bonuses, every round was messy. Every single round, it felt like it came down to the absolute wire. And it really wasn't until the second half where we really started to see core pulling through. But we wanted to refer back to the comp changes between these two teams, right? Because we're seeing the difference in the kind of like the new wave of initiators versus the older wave of initiators. But it honestly did feel like despite the comp swap, core looked very comfortable, and maybe they were just leading into that sort of comfort to allow them, because even though there were some things like missed KO knives and just like so much like scuffed utility that was coming out from the core side, it really did feel like they had a pretty good idea of how they wanted to approach this map.
Yeah, I think it really came down to the macro between these two teams, right? Looking towards, I think some of the spacing there on Ambrosia, especially on the attacking side, just didn't look the most comfortable to me. I felt like we saw moments where there was just a little bit maybe of a lack of awareness or not quite calling out the swings to happen on time together and not being able to actually go for those trades. And Core were very happy to punish that.
Yeah, and when we're looking at even just that momentum that they're taking from yesterday, Core's been a team that has looked a little bit more put together. So even when you do have those kind of missed moments, you talk about the util that kind of missed, etc., it still was a comfort and a confidence through with how they were playing, and that confidence that was really bring able to shine through. So that's a tough one for Ambrosia to kind of take at that point. So it's all going to be about Ash, that kind of bounce back, but can they against this core that's kinda cooking right now?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say. You even look at just like the general post plans. Sure, we didn't get to see too many post plans considering it was like the later half for Ambrosia being on that attacking side, but only being able to actually win out three of them said a lot about the protocols that core were actually running on defense there. They're very happy to give up that space in favor for being able to play together. And that I think it was a big reason why we saw them net in netting those wins there on defense. The synergy was really nice coming out from the core side. But Ambrosia, you saw that interview from Screwface. I'm sure that he's going to be able to give a pep talk to the boys to try and bounce back in map two.
Those are the vibes that you need to make sure that you can have a series that, try and take this into 3 maps, because this is something that we thought going into the series was gonna be relatively close, and it was for a bit. There was definitely a point in time where I'm like, "Hey, maybe we're going to this OT, maybe, this is gonna be," but Core just pulling ahead at that very end there. And I kinda wanna circle back to something that was touched on early on, even before the match, and sort of that difference that we saw in this map and where we had questions for Core Ash, which was the composition, and to do so with pulling up this head to head with Darkus and Logan. Because when we had questions with this composition, maybe it was a little behind. I mean, if it works, right?
Yeah, I think that we're concerned about what they were sacrificing, going back towards that KO and that Sova, that very like old iteration of a Pearl comp compared to the mass amount of control that you have in the util kit when you were running that breach and that Tejo, and the fact that you don't have nearly as much reactionary utility. But
Mhm.
we saw that shift happen with their positioning, right? They played a little bit further back so they don't actually have to go for those engagements. They'll let happily Ambrosia waste out some of that utility early on. And I think the knives coming out from Darkus as well were really great at shutting down some of those pushes.
Yeah, that is a really good point. I think that's kind of the main difference between these two comps, right? Is like one of them is very brute forcey. You want control, you're gonna get it, right? You have the salvos, you have the rockets early. There's so much util for you to establish early map control. But on the other side, for core, they're a lot more information based. They can set up their macros significantly better. There's so much opportunities for them to slow down, kind of, okay, what are they challenging? What space is open? And you saw it so much on their attack side where they just like would slow the round down, and they would kind of just work the map, prod, and kind of get the lurks set up and get the information game rolling. And whenever they wanted to hit sites, they would have the KO knife for back hauls on B side, and they would also have it to challenge the players towards the A side. So I completely agree. I think the way they recognize that we're not going to win the early clashes with this composition, so we're going to let the round unfold more naturally and then kind of impose our will on it later on.
And seeing how the composition made such a big like difference in this matchup, that makes me more intrigued for the next map that we have in the series, which looking back at what these two teams have ran, looks like this is going to be a lot more close on paper. This is going to be QOR's map pick that we're going to as well, Roy. A map that they've played twice with very, very drastic results. But the most recent showing yesterday, it seems like they learned a lot from those previous mistakes, and they're able to close this out really well.
Yeah, man, I want to see the darkest op because he seems to be very comfortable just pulling out the op on the attack side. He did it with KO on Pearl as well. It's honestly a little annoying, right? Because there's so many players are very comfortable with teams not attack opping that there's a lot of information that is gained by people jump spotting things, people jiggling things, right? So when you pull out an attack op, especially on a role like an initiator, you're comfortable doing these jump spots and jiggles, but next thing you know, you're getting punished for it. And you start to get information starved on your defense, which makes it even more awkward to play, especially going into a map like Haven, which can be very hard to play on the defense side.
And this is starting to look a little bit tougher, Ambrosia. Not even just this core that they're going up against, but they got the attacking op. They've got the confidence. They got the momentum. And I mean, yeah, they're not going to their map pick. So Ash, like, do they have enough in the tank? Like, can they bounce back from that? Because it was a close series till it wasn't before, right?
I think that you see the energy, you see the vibes that Screwface is able to provide the team as the leader, and you could definitely make a case for the fact that he should be able to instill that confidence into his team. And looking at what we're maybe expecting on the side of Ambrosia as well, it should nearly be a mirror matchup if they go with what they've been going for previously here on Haven. The only difference being the KO or the KJ, sorry, and the Cypher for those Sentinels. So that little bit of give and take. I think for Adder, though, the Cypher does favor really nicely for him with how he likes to go for those lurks as opposed to the Killjoy. So I think it should be a pretty close affair. At least I hope so.
I'm definitely hoping so. Let's head into the agent select. Roy, we've talked about the compositions, what we've seen so far. This should be a mirror matchup, but this way we can get some confirmation of it and what's ahead.
Absolutely. I do want to remind us, like, despite this being QOR's map pick, Ambrosia still has pretty decent results on this map. It's not like they're completely noobed on this map, you know what I mean? And now we're going into a mirror matchup. I think overall, this is really going to come down to the details. How are they going to approach it? What have they learned from the footage that they've seen so far on this team? And what kind of game plan are they coming in with?
I mean, if you're talking about the footage that the teams have on each other, I feel like QOR, whether it was footage, whether it was in the moment, they did a really, really good job with punishing Ambrosia in that last match. But if this isn't something that Ambrosia has necessarily played in Challengers, even if they played in other tournaments, there is the opportunity here that maybe they can start to have an upper edge and we can have a more even affair. But it's time to head into the match number 2 here. Is it going to be a map 3 or is it going to be a Vans and Lemon to admit the analyst desk was right? Let's head over to them. Let's get Haven started.
I'll never stand down to that.
Nah, watch this map 3 real quick, okay? Our Preds are not over, Vans, okay? We got to hold on.
I agree. But a mirror matchup is actually going to be perfect as well for both Ambrosia and for QOR. They know literally what the strategy is around that, and they talked about players that they want to look out for here on the desk. But for me, I want to look after Glyph and Logan. I feel that this type of composition in the mirror comp is so good to play against and counter Cypher utility with good shock darts, good lineups to open up a lot of C-side hits. And we're starting to see a lot more of the C-side control towards this type of, not necessarily meta, because you're still playing older comps at this point, because again, you're able to just move in really quickly for some good splits.
We have Team Martina, who's already comfortable on the jet. He already popped off map 1. So this is going to be, hopefully for him, just another day at the office. While Ambrosia, just another day of now getting mid-map control, starting with Garage, currently smoked off. That is the longest dart. That's a 2026 dart. Oh, is he going to be right on his hat? Oh, I'm a little bit off my
Missed.
geometry, but it's not going to reveal Snarly. And there is a paranoia from Nerve that may have limited things from Ambrosia, but with the smokes in place, they thought they were safe to plant, but heard something. Ambrosia peeked, and it's 2 for Smiley, 1 for Satellite, and Ambrosia's hunting for more. Glyph sat down to 15 HP. Does not want to get picked by Sophie, so that's embarrassing. And Adder keeps the fort held down, and the smoke dissipates at the worst moment, and Logan finds 3. That is so unlucky before Adder stays stoic at the back.
Adder again, the one that's going to save it for Ambrosia, but I love the call that you were saying before. It was a very long dart that was thrown at the very beginning for Glyph from the outside garage. But the thing is like it kind of broke the quote-unquote crosshair placement of Snarly's camera because he's looking towards the air to try to find it. And then at the same time, when the dart's about to fall, they throw a paranoia at the same time. So he's actually getting hit by it. Unfortunately, the dart didn't hit the top of the site to get a full scan in the back. And that would have been detrimental for the players that are trying to anchor towards the back of the site because it would have been wall banged by everything. Nonetheless, they still had great entry towards the site, and now you have QOR trying to answer back with Timotino pushing forward.
Oh, they're running away, and Nerve is pushing short, and Timotino's trying to crunch, and Ambrosia give the hands to both angles. So this is a great reaction from Ambrosia. They did take damage, but when you have the better weaponry, I would still say this is positive side things for QOR, especially if they can pick them off as Ambrosia walks in, take some weapons, but I'm thinking long term, 1 step at a time.
Yeah, long term is very good. I still like the aggression coming out for Ambrosia despite Timotino pushing forward, so not showing any type of fear. Vibes are still good, brought up here by Screwface. Logan's in a tough spot though. He's going to be pristine with the share shots, and he's not.
Ouch, and Dark is just late to being able to use any of that util, knowing exactly where Ambrosia are coming from. Of course they're going to be pushing A, and no fault line, no flash, nothing, and Ambrosia just jump in, knowing they had the number advantage. And that's easy as that, just QOR needing to sync up and just kind of shake off map 1, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's the exact thing that I wanted to see coming out for Ambrosia that we kind of critiqued earlier on. We were trying to play the retake on that B side of Pearl. Having a player jump out of the smoke, then at least having some players behind there, and they utilize all 3 players to swing out through the smoke to get the perfect trades towards the end and squash any type of surprise play that was attempted here coming out from QOR. Adder is going to continue to be very good on this Guardian for this second round buy, and it's going to be really good for their bonus round in the third. And it's already starting in the round. I mean, they're trying rather to fight for a main control in the first place, but all these smokes are happening towards long C. It's going to slow down the map for both teams. You're going to start leveraging your owl drones a little bit earlier as well to try to see if there's going to be any type of like aggressive pushes coming through. Thankfully here for the side of Ambrosia, the camera's already set up and it doesn't spot the walk down. Oh, until there. It didn't spot deep enough here, and Darkest gets a free kill, unfortunately.
He gets away and he'll have flashes, and I don't know if Ambrosia want to chase after this. All depends on what Screwface can set up. Can you isolate one side of B, or are they just going to flood in and handle angles 1 by 1? And it's the latter, and Ambrosia plant, but they have to discover where Darkest is, and he peeks out. Oh, and check the back door, and he thought that maybe he just left the site entirely. Smokes are back up, though, and Ambrosia just have to depend on Smiley for any vision within the site. And now QOR have secured the site, and they're battling in mid, and they bite down hard on Ambrosia.
Darkest is not allowed to get away with that. That is a small shield buy that he had going into this round, and he walks away with a small shield buy, not eating a single lick of damage, where it was identified. They knew here that the push came out from the front B. The recon dart doesn't clear Gong. Make sure you clear the deep corner so that you guarantee that there's nobody playing inside that site. And as they fake check it, we'll probably see at the replay here, it gives a chance for QOR to just swarm in right over here. Like, with him dying, look at how many players already swarmed inside the B side right after. All 4 of them. Nobody from Ambrosia could really set up for a post plan. But thankfully, because of the buys that they had here on that second round to still do, they were trying to do some econ damage, which they didn't. They at least have a strong buy with rifles in this round number 4, which at least it's going to be stopped by a fault line, but not too much outside of that.
Okay, well, QOR definitely conditioned that they like to play up close and personal at A, and Ambrosia get the punish. At least QOR able to spit back with that heaven high ground. They don't have Smiley, they don't have smokes, and Satellite doesn't either, and he's 2 HP, so how do you even entry? I think it has to be a pivot call for Ambrosia if they can get Screwface out, and thank God they do, because dropping the spike there would have been so Jover for them.
I mean, it's so over now. Look at their HP, but that was such an anti-play by Core. They somehow knew that there was going to be an owl drone coming up here from the spawn to look out towards long A, and then the TP from Smiley was going to go up towards heaven. You saw the position from Timotino. He was waiting down towards the staircase in the very beginning, anticipating that, and when Smiley TPs across and sticks it, he just swings out and gets the pick. That is such a counter coming out from Core. I don't know where they saw that tape, because I don't think, I guess they saw it here from Ambrosia's play in the past. But that was a nice little ante to start things off, and you have no choice now for the last 3 players but to save your weapons because of the low HP that they limped out of when they're trying to execute quickly towards this A site.
Yeah, I really thought there was a chance for Ambrosia. They seemed to have the right read, that there's an aggressive hold at A main, and Ambrosia had been losing on that affair a few times. So maybe if you keep throwing something at it, it'll stick eventually, but I'm looking at Screwface to be the big playmaker and to be the IGL, the one that calls all the util, and to be the one who frags. Is a lot on his shoulders, especially with new players. So
looks like I was
2-2. Just like the last map, we could head into that 6-6 half. These could be win streaky, but now some weapons being dropped, and that's going to hurt Screwface.
Yeah, and that's one of those moments where, you know, the debate always comes out, oh, it's not worth watching off-season events and whatnot, because it's not really worth it at that point. But this has got to be something that Ambrosia probably did here in their off-season matches that was read by Ocean and Slow is Cool to have that full counter. So that's going to hurt Ambrosia a bit. And now finally also break their economy, as you just mentioned here, Lemon Kiwi. So 5 player just stack into the site. But this trip is going to be nasty if they don't shock dart that spot.
Finally testing the waters here at C, and how sturdy is this Cypher? You killing through the blind, through the smokes, through the fire and the flames. Snarly gets 2, and with the support of Nerve, this is not only just holdable, but it's held. Ambrosia just get kicked in the teeth and just can't seem to activate Satellite in the same ways that they did on Pearl. Economy damage now for Adder, but he's gonna get checked and flashed up too. Jeez, flawless.
It's time for Core to stack up flawless here on the defensive side on the second map. But again, that trip, it's being pinged out. You see right here on that mini map. Oh, there's a trip going in from the wall all the way towards the platform. If we're trying to, that's exactly how Screwface is saying this, by the way. But if they're trying to scale towards that left side of that C site, they were eating a hail of bullets with no util to break it. Which is why I'm saying that it's super important here. The responsibility for Glyph to get shock darts. Probably land one. You could probably land one on that Radio Knight box on that right side, which breaks all the trips that connects from that box all the way towards that site. But then you need that second one on that left, just to make sure here that you don't get caught by this util out from Snarly.
Oh, good fault line. Snarly in trouble, and doesn't have Nerve and Melee by his side for any paranoias, but he does have Darkest. And Ambrosia are stuck with just their half of the site, and just the one-man peak of Satellite can't open things up for the better for Ambrosia. And when it rains, it pours. You have Darkest fragging away remaining, like another aim trainer. And Ambrosia can't get any advantages going. Once they are on the site, they have smokes, but then what?
Yeah, that's the thing. It was the counter smokes that came out on the defensive side on both sides of the C site too. When you're looking at that from that aspect, yes, the shot darts are really good to break the trips, and they're able to take the front side site. But you still have to think about the delays here. What Core could do with the breach util and the cages and the smokes. You don't allow here Ambrosia to get the perfect flashes to fight behind those smokes, and they just kind of were like a deer in the headlights, where they couldn't really move past those lines, and they started peeking one by one to do hero plays towards the back of the site instead of going for that protocol that they did so well in the first place. Look at that, the first swing in the back. And they're just dropping players like flies, and they didn't have that buddy system to really capitalize on that C take. This is really good anchoring coming out here from Core, and good read so far.
You just got to finish the flood. It has to turn into a tidal wave. Just not just the half site, but claim the whole thing.
Yeah.
This real estate market, you need everything you can get for Ambrosia. So to not just give up, but to really build that confidence into a flow that finishes the mission. And the mission is already missing some legs. Adder doesn't have any more.
Yeah.
And you have Satellite still on the lurk at A, and the spike is going to be held back, and they've almost flushed out Timotino. There we go. Satellite making the plays to try and even things up.
They're trying to be like water, but they're still stuffed by sand. You're already playing towards that back with the Hunter's Fury to delay that plant. They're still very good here. They can cycle so much util, and they'll be okay with using it. Oh, what? Okay.
just not waiting that out, and
Spike
an
planted.
unsmoked heaven gives chances for Core to peak, but Smiley was ready, and just with a share of 2 is really impressive. This is a pretty stacked lobby for weaponry. Snarly versus Glyph, and now the neural theft
Huge.
advantage in the 2 versus 2. Can't get any better than this for Core.
And crap
Now
weapons.
time is against them. Logan's gonna drop. Easy pick. Satellite on the other side. Oh, the
player
smoke
standing.
emerges. Gets to kill the SMG because the diffuse. They thought they could protect it from getting halfway. And Satellite clutches for Ambrosia.
Oh my god, that was just unlucky at that point for the side of Core on the retake. You had to win that fight against Satellite, who had a stinger. You were already playing out in the open and having your crosshair placed on the player running across. And it's just, you see Satellite just running through, wide swinging with the stinger to get the pick. Everything was perfect and pristine until 2 hero plays came out here from both from both the Jet and also here at this spot from Satellite. And who was it that got those 2 kills? It was Smiley with the Sheriff up towards the A site. Nothing you can really do at that point here for Core. Just had to win your duels and you just got out-aimed.
Unfortunate. Very aggressive from Timotino. A little greedy. Thought it was just going to be an orb play and then walk back out. Why walk into the hands of Ambrosia? And now they're going to pivot away from A and keep their lurk inserted at A while B gets infiltrated. At least there was an attempt to before the smoke, before seeing the face of Darkest, which would put fear in your eyes.
Yeah. Now they're going to keep their eyes closed here so they can walk away from the B side and try to reopen towards the A site. The thing is, they have Smiley with an ult. So if it all comes down to this, they can always TP back towards the B site. So you have to be a little bit more cautious walking into A now for Ambrosia.
Screwface fault line worth the fall from Ambrosia, dashing in Satellite on the high ground, rolling thunder in response from Darkest, and the aftershock to secure a short for a moment. But Darkest isn't getting that lurk help from C yet, and they think Ambrosia had pivoted, so they're just gonna try to
30
continue
seconds
playing
left.
off the site. And Nerve can always teleport out if he wants to be left behind, but I think he just spotted someone. Gonna exchange some shots with smokes and cages in place. Nerve is gonna hold it down with a 2-for-1, make it 3 before he's traded out. That should have been a lot easier for Ambrosia to win.
Spike
Please
planted.
have a rolling thunder for Screwface if it all comes down to this. No!
Oh my god.
Dude.
Rolling Thunder 1v1, does he do?
Yeah, you have to. At this point, he's shaking in his boots. He's already got both hands out, ready to throw fists. He's quaking. Literally.
Off your feet!
Oh my god, the brains on Snarly. Knowing that was coming out, taps a spike, dodges away. Screwface doesn't have the advantage, and Snarly is playing chess when Screwface is playing checkers.
We gotta take a little moment there.
He's sighing, guys. You're making Vantilli sigh. Stop taking gears off of his life, okay?
But you have the perfect crossfire setup. You have a rolling thunder that you can play within sight. Your first contact was the one playing towards sewers. You get the contact with the fault line, but the play was trying to play delay instead of playing with the confidence that you know you have on the table here for Ambrosia. Let's look at it from the replay if it happens. Like, the entry towards the site was perfect. The re-hit was beautiful coming out from Ambrosia. But right here, Nerve, yes, does the hero play, but it's still a 2 versus 1. Right over here, you had to play with your teammate. You had a crossfire from default and from sewers to ping pong. I'm going to stop harping on that because the action already started with Starly getting 2 kills here, but it's an anti-eco, so let me just yell a little bit more. They need to clean things up for Ambrosia right now on their attack side.
But Snarly, that was still clean. Even if they don't shoot back, they don't have to know that in the montage, okay? Least obvious custom. And Ambrosia, at least have a Vandal. They can keep that.
Flight.
Hopefully. And Core is coming from multiple sides now.
Planted.
So how can Ambrosia try to protect this? Hunter's Fury, but I think they're closing in and the action's getting too close, and Snarly going for the ace. Darkest, no.
It's okay. It's all part of the plan because Snarly already has his ult. So then Darkest can get an orb. Then Logan can get an orb. This is all big brain plays right now coming out from Core. But dude, this is a flawless with only Snarly getting damage within that round. The third of this half now for Core. And yeah, I would have thought here going into the series that Ambrosia would have some sort of a good game plan to play against how this firepower that comes out from the core roster. But they are definitely falling short in these moments. And they're not falling short because they're losing duels to core. I think they're falling short because they're just losing to their own protocols and fundamentals. And I think that's why this timeout is going to come through. You have to play together. You have to play as a team at this point. You have to understand what's going on here for what gaps are missing. I understand that it was also an eco that came out for Ambrosia on that previous round, but now that they have money to work with, now that they have the Hunter's Fury and potentially even an ult to work back towards this potential C-site hit with the Hunter's Fury and Omen TPs towards spawn kind of play, like one of those Hail Marys. But if that's going to be the play, the timeout is definitely to make sure that they iron out the fundamentals to capitalize and finalize the round in their favor.
I'm surprised just Ambrosia even picked this map because they've banned it twice in the past. So clearly they were confident off the work they did with their backroom, their coaches, that this could be different. But I think that when you have too many independent minds coming up with ideas in a match and you get slightly desynced in the heat of the moments, and especially in the timings off the other side, it can cost you.
Yeah, you definitely saw it, right? On how every single one of those players in the eco round, how they all got shot in the back. And now here's an opportunity to get a little bit more. The camera forces the early TP away from Nerve, so that's really good information. But all of them are focusing on long B and a late C garage control, where Team Atino is currently in a great spot with the operator. I call this the Wardell spot from back in the day.
Now with garage, ooh, no ping off the camera. Deal with that. No satellites in garage. Bit of a duel, and where's the help? Ambrosia are so fixated at the back window, and I don't even know if Darkus really showed himself. He clearly didn't take damage and used the fault line, and that suppressed Ambrosia away from supporting Satellite.
Yeah, in that moment, I think Satellite probably should have dashed away or escaped, because he didn't have, yes, it looked like he didn't have help to fight back towards a C ramp. It makes sense, but his teammates were actually watching the window because of the sprays that were coming out. They were hoping for an overextension of a peak from Core, but Core are playing this very well. When we talk about the funny so far, it's Core all the way in this series.
30 seconds left.
Oh, Team Atino in trouble. Good dodge away. Ambrosia trying to cut him off through garage. And at least Nerve is there. Paranoia has been used, and Ambrosia will be slowed but not stopped. With Team Atino missing. What a key pick for Ambrosia to get back on their feet. But 10 seconds left, and Core are going to struggle against them. But this prevents the plant for a moment, and it's just Logan who's going to emerge, try to stop that. And it ultimately ends up being an Ambrosia round win.
Almost felt the Petra moment there, where you could just get the recon but no bounces to try to get the outswing. He almost caught Glyph in the back of the boxes here while Screwface was planting, but unfortunately Little Wiston capitalized now by Ambrosia at this point, and that's what we wanted. Yes, the first part didn't work out too well in this garage control, but look at the rest of the hit. Smiley gets a lucky kill through the smoke, and that just engages everybody to finally start moving as a pack. And they were perfect there for not even needing trades at that point. They were just owning with the number of players that they had. So I'm loving here that they're leveraging a little bit more 4-1s at the very beginning, so they can try to trade these off.
Woo! Satellite with the offensive op. I'm sat. I'm ready. And look at this peek from Logan.
Yeah.
Is he going to go for it? Maybe drone up first. See how many people are going to shoot it.
Playing one and done.
Darkest. Yeah.
Take flight.
One and done if they were
Darkest
still trying to walk down, but if not, the drone's going to allow for them to get info and fall back a little bit more.
At least it was shot at a distance, and Satellite is getting more picks. Okay, Darkest ended up peeking that.
You wanted the op. It's like baiting a carrot under a box here, and your rabbit is coming out and just gets trapped.
There's the fault line, and her stands and delivers. Not what Ambrosia wanted, but hey, Smiley will get one for the road.
Dude.
Before Nerve with the shorty is just about to ace this until Satellite comes out of nowhere. 1v1 now against Snarly, who's gonna stay in spawn. Spikes down, and Satellite,
30 seconds left.
he's searching everywhere. Coming around the backside in case that's where Snarly was holding, but
Snarly's fine. He's got camera watching long C in garage. That's why he's staying in spawn. He's just literally in his cam because the trip is watching towards B. Now with 13 seconds left, you know it's hitting towards the A site. So it looked like he didn't have a good read, but
10 seconds
he's still going to
left.
close this gap while Satellite's planning.
Okay, slow walking quietly to heaven. And based on how quick that plant went down, he's either on the other side of the box or right below you in Snarly. He's ready for the drop down. 1, 2, 3, and slaps away the ult from Satellite. And Core gonna go up even more.
Ambrosia is unfortunately making me say the bro a lot under my breath in these moments where how the hell did Nerve come out of that with like a 3K or 4K anchoring around the box again? He had a 3K a couple of rounds ago, and this time is just a thorn on the side of Ambrosia's attempt on the hits towards the A site. And it's such good defensive play coming out here from the anchors of both Snarly and Nerve on both extremities. I was going to mention and criticize this at this point. This I understand because this is exactly what Roy was mentioning before, where you on an attack side op, you're thinking now that on the defensive side that you could just freely peek and get a couple of picks, but then Satellite's able to get that opener. But then trying to drone to pick up the op right after, it's being, you got to know somebody's still watching that line. And somehow you still convert it on a 3 versus 5. You'll take that any day here for Core.
Okay, Logan's cooked, right? Oh my god, the breakdancing! He just spun on his head and
Air
then take
flares.
a single Hunter's Fury shot. I feel like that should have been a pick for Ambrosia, but I don't blame them. They don't exactly have all types of crazy weapons, but some nice moves from Logan, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and a blind ult that tried to come through here on the side of Ambrosia. Liv tried to go for the recon ping once again, but unfortunately it didn't work out. But Ambrosia will try to tempo up. I mean, their money's not the best, so they have to work as a group once again. Give me some util.
Flash in, Darkest 3 peeks through the smoke. He's actually gonna go for this, but doesn't benefit Core this time. And the teleport not executed by Smiley in time. Darkest the aggression. Be able to net Core some kills this time. Spike will be tapped, but nothing is obscuring it. And Darkest will just be front and center, but around the corner is Satellite. He's ready
One enemy
to jump out, but all of Core are just watching this doorway. Ambrosia don't stand a chance swinging into this. Great retake by Core.
Dude, Darkest's movement is so nice. Close range shorty, drive by and go straight into the garage for the op, and they never expected on the side here of Ambrosia. So as Darkest we were wondering on the desk here, the attack side op on Breach, still pulling out on the defensive side, just like he did with the KO on the attack on Pearl. That's pretty crazy what this player could do. And I'm not surprised. I mean, he's always had such a strong showing in all of his challenger teams and collegiate teams that he's played in. To see these type of plays is just literally another Tuesday.
Not as close
That, dude, 8
to a
HP.
6-6 half.
Lemon Kiwi, 8 HP, 8 HP, 8 HP, you got a 4K.
Spike planted.
Yeah, and then losing the ult from Satellite. Definitely having hot and cold moments. But hey, not a 6-6 half, but full Core. Able to close out the series. Can Ambrosia catch up? This Core that'll explore mid. There's a trip in garage this time.
If anything, I believe. Ambrosia's gonna bring the comeback. I can't let the desk be right.
Yeah. Oh, but look at this extension from Adder, and this is gonna completely catch Nerve off guard. And Core just have to sacrifice their teammate to the Lambs and plant, but they want to wrap around, thinking Ambrosia are already planning a crunch. And Core extend out. They're going for the plant, and Timotino,
Planted.
he gets absolutely collapsed on from defenders in B. Gets the info, but can Core really do this without him? 3 versus 5 on the post plant. Lines hitting Ambrosia. Core step up, using the aftershock to disrupt Ambrosia's pacing on
No
their
way.
re-challenge. And Darkest is insane. It's not even over though. There it is.
now.
Now it is.
Dude, everything looked really good for Ambrosia. I think that was beautiful Valorant from both teams, actually, for that round. The call coming out from Core to push out towards that spawn, and Ambrosia's game plan to actually go for a quad peek in the very beginning, and unfortunately couldn't take down the Cypher, so their trip was still back. But because of the flip the map and how patient Screwface was in the back of B, he allowed to call it for his teammates to help out for the front B side and actually have a beautiful crossfire setup to take down Timotino and start the retake on that side. But it came down to our hero play. I was praising Snarly and Nerve so far on this map, but dude, Darkus has also been quite insane, and that's something that is hard to stop when these guys are on fire. It came down to those duels that didn't shine out for Ambrosia. The macro around that previous round was still very good.
And Adder's still going to be pushed up at C, and Core are not going to address that problem yet. Core went for a forward smoke to, yes, maybe give away the orb if Glyph wanted it. But Core bought themselves so much A-main momentum, and in the smoke, Smiley is such a rat in that case, and he's trying to get away, but he gets pinged by what, a recon in the middle of the site from Logan. And now with all the smokes in place, Core is just going to be proactive, and it pays off.
We're counting your lucky stars pretty much for Ambrosia with hero plays that Smiley could do just like Nerve did previously on this site. But they went for the full save, just trusting that their gun round starting from now will be good enough here to come back in the game. And they still want to add that pressure. I'm liking this. The TP towards the top, as you can see here from Smiley on the top B, and to go for the high-low and the walk down for Satellite.
Ambrosia will be on the step up, the spike behind at least from Core. So if things don't work out, how much Snarly can gather, and losing your lurk this early, and Logan too. That's a tough round, but good for Ambrosia to hope to close the gap in the score. An offensive opportunity from Darkus to see if there's going to be a repeat from Satellite from B. That could be a pick that Core could work off of, but it's already a round at a pretty big deficit.
Yeah, it's perfect start there for Ambrosia. Leveraging Satellite to walk down to actually catch those players in the first place towards grass, and the high-low is watching the window for him so that he could escape. That was all beautiful. But remember, who's still alive? You got Nerve, Darkus, and Timotino. It's not over yet here for Core.
Ambrosia are happy to just play for retakes. I like that Core not just going to sit by. They may even just pop out of the smoke and catch Ambrosia on rotations.
Still a lot of util available though. Fault line, paranoia, recon. They could flood into this site, and that's a big kill to start though for Matter.
This Core don't want to play off or in the site and playing off of it. They're getting isolated from each other, and they can't really set up for trades. Until now, Timotino will stay patient. Spike is going to be tapped. You got to work your way back in with no movement abilities. Glyph with nothing, and Core with nothing really left to get back in. So tough one.
Trying to get the orb now for Screwface towards the end. I think they were trying to decide if it could be for Satellite because he was getting pretty close to Bladestorm, but he ran back here to pick up the op, which is also going to add a lot of firepower now for Ambrosia going into this round. And again, a great start to kick things off. Once they lost Pistol and their eco here for Ambrosia. Now they can move the Cypher util a little bit, as you just saw before we got into this this replay. They're leveraging the op solo towards the C site. Maybe now you can have a little bit more trap kills set up here for info towards this B site. Oh, and they're actually playing the conditioning, so they're still going to keep the Adder on this side, and if he runs away, they could maybe use the op. But Core pushes towards A at the very beginning, and that foils any plan that Ambrosia had at the start of the C site.
Paranoia used early too, just from the anxiety that Ambrosia produced, not knowing what was on the other side of that smoke around orb. Satellite watching over with the op. Will have to reveal his op to not get pinged from the drone. And Core gonna see if they can just overwhelm it with speed. And Timotino dashes in, gets flashed. Logan makes his way to the off angle to deal with the backline of Ambrosia. And Satellite remains with Adder.
enemy
And
remaining.
just the surprise factor won't be catching Darkest. He's too quick to the trigger. And it's Adder in a 1v2 trying to address the duels one by one. Now, pretty much a high-low setup and at least the firing squad from Core in place. Spike going down.
Spike planted.
Got ult.
There's the swing from Darkest to finish things off. Core get up to 11 and that much closer from taking our series.
That's what I wanted to see. Not a fault line. Let me run away to sewers. So we double up here. And this side, they actually went for a 3-2-1 and swung here towards the spawn to take down Adder. That shows, again, good protocols coming out from Core and how good they were to just fight back against Ambrosia's stack. They had the perfect read from Ambrosia in the very beginning here from rotating the satellite op from C over to A heaven. But as soon as that gets smoked down in Owl Drone, he's pretty much out of the action. So it doesn't really give a chance here for the rest of the team to... I mean, it did quite good to flood back within it, but it's so hard to retake with an op if your op's not able to get the first kill at the very beginning.
A lot of the
Nice.
first bloods coming from Core's side as well.
Yeah. First
Things
blood's
get
last
better.
blood.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of how the round shakes up, huh?
Yep.
Ambrosia off the timeout. They're only down a couple rounds, you know, couple in quotations, you know.
Yeah.
It all depends on how you dress it up in the comms and in the team meeting you're about to have. It's got to be a vibes-based thing. Especially you can tell Screwface feeling that pressure to just get everybody back, to get the ball rolling, metaphorically, morally. And his performance are suffering, but it's got to pay off in just rallying the team. Like a stack on the right side of the map there from Ambrosia.
Yeah. Fault line smoke towards the main, just try to take control of the front. Maybe even try to control an orb if you can here so that Satellite can get closer to Bladestorm if there's no action being heard towards the A side. So yeah, I mean, trying to salvage whatever you can here within this buy. This drone's gonna get so much now from Logan.
Deploying drone.
Yeah. Ambrosia just wanted to take space off the ult from Satellite, and Core did exactly what they should and stay patient and react. Now dashing in past the smoke, Core got isolated, got caught by a play from Smiley, and now Paranoia could be available to finish things off and make things easier for Ambrosia, but Core retaliated much quicker than they expected, so a rolling thunder from Darkest.
Attack site op, and now the lurk and the insert from Snarly. It doesn't even matter at this point if Darkest is going to get pinged out by a camera as he makes his way towards A. Snarly is in a great spot.
Just not being able to do anything off the rolling thunder, but hey, a silver lining for Ambrosia to have one less ult to worry about, improve their chances of getting back into this game.
30 seconds
Playing
left.
together will be key in Core, and Ambrosia doing just that. Plant over at B. They can establish
Spike
at B
planted.
main with the op. But Snarly's going to be playing at the back side. They're watching both doorways. They don't really care about main right now.
Oh no. So the hat's being thrown, and then Smiley got hit by the trip, so they know both players are flanking.
Ambrosia back in through main and through the smoke. They step into the smoke. It's Darkest in a 1v2, and he can't handle the pressure. And it's Snarly that just has to play the post plant, wait for the tap, and spray through it. Adder is like 1 HP.
enemy
And that
remaining.
dissipates, claims 1. Has to buy a few more seconds because the spike is halfway, and Smiley stays patient and has helped Ambrosia barely get away with that round.
Yeah, thankfully you're playing two Omens here on the site, and it had to be who had the better protocols to move in and fight for this post-plant position, and it became Ambrosia because those two smokes actually isolated the crossfire setup from Core. You gave a chance here for the last two players to double swing in, crosshair out and swing it in, and it was perfect. But this fight, I loved it. Darkest, attack side off once again, shorted to push forward. This guy is not afraid to play against you as a duelist. Or playing an initiator like a duelist pretty much at this point. But they're not out of it yet here for Ambrosia. Thankfully, there's a little bit of room to breathe. This is an eco that you currently have here for Core with a hero rifle out for Timotino. They're going to try to split towards the C site. There is going to be a fault line off the camera to support. And potentially here, Adder will flood back in and hoping to get a kill with it.
No one watching Garage for Ambrosia. A lot of map control given up, but they'll trade it with just
Spike down.
better shots. Ambrosio's coming into the site at the perfect time. Not a single win from Core in that moment.
And it was almost a surprise play there from Timo, dashing on the top of the default boxes. But again, read by Adder, understands where the gaps are when he's playing this agent. Where it's good with his trap kills, where players could be when they're entering towards that site. So he cages up, watches in the right spot on the top, doesn't get affected by any flood util out from Core, and gets a beautiful kill there onto Timo, which started everything else right over here for Ambrosia to capitalize on the round. Yes, they had to use one ult with it, which is the Hunter's Fury from Glyph, but I mean, you'll take it. You still have a Rolling Thunder to work with in round number 19.
Drone flashed. Not sure how much Glyph got the saw, but judging by the amount of shots you just heard,
No.
Satellite get that first pick. Ambrosia need these first splits to be in their favor this time. It's a lot easier to do on defense, to hold a position, but
Oh, that's all
that
good.
gets pinged, and it kind of uses it as bait, because Glyph wasn't pinged and swung and decided he didn't want the smoke.
Yeah, especially when the drone came out and actually saw both players. And they know now the op is posted up on the site.
Here.
Double shocks, though. I mean, this could still be broken and work up towards the C site, but if they're trying to jump inside the window, at least that's info, but nobody really to spray across from the back of garage. So C sites looks to be a retake play from Ambrosia because of this Rolling Thunder that we mentioned before that Screwface has.
I must wait.
Hey, Nerve got info at C at least, and I like that adaptation of the trips doubling up at garage, because that's how
30
Core
seconds left.
flooded in last time. And now Spike planted, Hunter's Fury, and a Rolling Thunder. That is a pain sandwich coming out of Ambrosia, and Core's on the menu. What? Guns are just better, apparently. Core just unaffected by the ults, but Smiley has to clutch for the team, but he's just one man on that team. Core,
Yeah.
match point, series point.
Again, we anticipated the walk up, which they kind of did here for Core, but as you're walking up, instead of fully rushing up to get window control, they just hurt the trip on that side, stayed on the other side of the trip, and there was no trap kill there available for Adder for them to contest back into the garage and fight. So with those players falling in that spot, they can't really pinch back towards the C site where Core, you were just mentioning here, Lemon Kiwi, how the weapons were just a lot better in terms of aim for the attack side of Core. And now it's all eggs in one basket, trying to get that line down with the operator, fault line to push forward.
Yeah, to use those two ults last round and not win, that's gotta hurt Ambrosia.
There's no dash anymore. This has to be a one and done. No choice.
Ooh, and the blind, the flash, just in time. Darkest,
storm.
okay.
Oh, no.
Close it out, close it out. Ops is now scary, you have to use more util to suppress it. And Satellite gets away, just like a cat. So many lives. Can't believe you lived that.
Thought I was watching Roy's cat pretty much at that point. They dodged everything, but Logan, when everybody's inserted towards this A link, they're not in a good spot for Ambrosia for the retake.
Well, neural theft. And Snarly gets to maybe preserve his life, but he has to hold down Satellite and Screwface from the right side of B. And pinching from the left is Smiley. And it's all wins for Ambrosia, 2v2. As the spike was not executed at B. Way too close of a defensive hold from Ambrosia. C is the pivot.
C is the pivot. Both, I mean, there's still an owl drone available for Logan as well. So both playing from long C, I like that play.
Enemy remaining.
And now caught util in hand. That's GG.
It's a heads-up play from Timo to just be, of course, already in main as you would, but to start extending towards your own spawn, expecting that flank. And now Satellite, he's pinged through. They're gonna know. He's tapped it twice, the double swing, and it's a 13-7 for Core to sweep this 2-0 and to go 2-2 in our standings with only a couple weeks left until playoffs. A really strong showing from them.
Definitely a strong showing. The unfortunate side, though, for Ambrosia is that they're currently a 1-2, or 1-3 rather, and one more that they lose, they're actually out of playoff contention. So it's gonna have to be do or die from now on for that team. They put up a pretty decent fight looking at the very beginning of this series, Lemon Kiwi, when you saw this 6-6 half that we saw in Pearl, the two flawless that they started with from pistol round to anti-eco. But then everything after that, when they started to take the second half into the second map, things started falling apart a little bit here where maybe it's the lack of getting the confidence for big round wins that you just continue to let that lead slip away for you, and also having to play the comeback for the rest of the game.
And I'll just throw Ambrosia a bone. They're still not playing with their fifth, and I thought Adder is like the guy that has been filling in perfectly for them.
Yeah.
But this is still one that, again, how do you develop a game plan and really want to commit to all that preparation when you don't even have the fifth? And this is kind of an off time where maybe Ambrosia are going to a more democratic, like everyone throw out ideas, be independent. Sometimes in the heat of the moments, that experience really shows, and Core thrived. And it was cool to see how much they have improved from last stage to now. But that is a Core sweep, and we have a banger of a match coming up. Of course, a banger of an interview from someone from Core, but keep in mind, we're going to hear from the desk. And after that, TSM versus Rankers, 2 undefeated teams. You won't want to miss that. We'll see you soon.
I played on a lot of teams at this point, the majority of which I had to compete on instead of being a practice roster. And it's like, something that's really beneficial about this roster, about Derek and Steven especially, is that everybody's just really happy. Like, everybody like has a lot of trust for each other and a lot of love for each other. And obviously right now we're not like, you know, we don't have the formula making it work consistently, but I truly believe that when we win our first match together and we like experience that feeling of winning together and we like get to have that belief, you know, I think this team can be an Ascension contender. Like, Steven has some of the best mechanics I've ever seen in my life. Pulls rounds out that I've never seen ever, especially with like the Guardian single shotguns. And I think, like, generally speaking, when he's like playing loose and playing with like fun in mind, you know, like he's able to unlock the best version of himself. And like that's something that he's also consistently looking to do more often. And I think same with Derek. I've had messages like from them talking about how like they love the environment, they love practicing together, they love playing together with me, like, and as a team. And like for me, like that's what like playing Valorant competitively is all about. If I don't enjoy my practice every single day, I don't enjoy coming in and like talking and laughing with my teammates, with my boys. Like I came from sports, right? Like I was never meant to be a professional esport player. Like I was meant to go through college and get a job and then like fuck off. You know what I mean? Into corporate America. And like during COVID, I got the opportunity to do this, and like I obviously love it, right? And don't get me wrong, I've been trying to do it forever. I'm still trying to do it forever, right? But it's so huge to have like the personal relationships outside of the game and to be able to like truly enjoy practice and like laugh with your teammates. Because like we'll talk about stuff that has nothing to do with Valorant, you know? And like that's cool. I'm a big fan of that.
Down. My
Perfect.
One enemy clutch.
My eyes on.
enemy kill.
Last one enemy remains.
Your feet. Eagle eye.
One enemy remains.
Eagle eye.
One enemy remains.
Kick me up.
One down. Who?
Spike down A. One enemy remains. Player standing. One. Spike planted.